All right. I guess I should show. This is a BBC News article that's titled Gollum, blah, 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 from May 31st by Guy Lambert. I apologize if I mispronounce his name. I just really want that Gollum picture up there from Daedalic Entertainment while I'm talking. This is going to be the last video I do on this topic, at least for now. And I am going to not just address the 3 games that I had done videos about the apology letters, Cyberpunk 2077, Redfall, and The Lord of the Rings Gollum the game, which from here on out I will call Cyberpunk, Redfall, and Gollum. But I'm just going to talk about even a bigger problem that's going on right now in the industry. And I'm specifically talking about Microsoft Xbox as the console and platform, because I don't game on other ones. And at this point, I'm sure it's on all platforms, including PC. But in these videos, I said there was a common thread, and most of us recognize there's a commonality between Cyberpunk, Redfall, and Gollum, and we'd all be like, oh yeah, those games really blew, chunks when they came out, and the companies took a big hit, from the community. But it's deeper than that, and you don't have to watch those other videos. I'll recap what some of the commonality is. First off, they did. All 3 of those games just, had a big backlash from the gaming community when they were released. And they being the companies, put out some form of an apology and then said, oh, well, we'll fix the game now, that there's problems with it. We'll go ahead and take care of it. Just bide time and we'll get to it. So I did these videos, and as I was doing them, I was like, wait a minute, wasn't this game delayed? And wasn't there an embargo on this game? And I didn't make the connection because I didn't follow The Lord of the Rings before it was released. But I just wanted to do a quick search, and please don't just trust me on anything. Do your own research, have your own thoughts, and then if you agree with me, great. If you don't, let me know. But here we go. Cyberpunk 2077 delay. Cyberpunk saw another delay announcement. So it was delayed at least 2 times. And then Redfall. Bethesda, Starfield, and Redfall have been delayed. So Redfall was delayed at least once. Lord of the Rings Gollum, delayed 3 times already. So each of these games were delayed at least once, if not multiple times each. And then it's the embargo. When does the embargo lift for Cyberpunk 2077? It lifts next week. Botched review embargo for Redfall. Embargo confusion leads to negative Redfall reviews. And then the Lord of the Rings. Is there a review embargo? And someone says in this Steam community message, yeah, I'm under embargo. Here's when it releases. So I'm not going to dig any deeper, because that kind of shows me there's a lot more these 3 titles have in common. And these aren't the only 3. I'm sure y'all could leave me comment after comment about games that follow this pattern, where they've been delayed. The companies are like, well, we could delay again, or we could just dump it. And is it under embargo? Yeah, it probably is, because almost all the games are now. And then it gets released. The company says, oh, our fault, mea culpa-ish. And then we'll go ahead and patch it now. Why are we tolerating this? It's only going to get worse. I mean, I took an example from 3 years ago with Cyberpunk, and then I took 2 examples in less than 2 months with Redfall and with Gollum. And y'all fill in the comments and tell me which ones I've missed. These are just 3 of the game companies and 3 of the games. I'm sure there's a lot more that have happened in the last 3 years that follow this pattern, and that will continue, because what are we doing about it besides freaking accepting it? They're bending us over and we're tolerating it. It's mind-numbing and it's infuriating to me. Just in case, I want to describe embargoes, because I don't want anyone to think that embargoes are necessarily or inherently a bad thing. So my understanding of an embargo is when a game has not been released yet, the game company will offer influencers like YouTubers, Twitch streamers, people who want to do reviews on the game. They'll offer them early access to the game. And then they contractually bind these people into what they can and cannot do, these influencers. So by way of example, they may be able to play 5 hours of the game and record gameplay and all this, but they can't release it. They can't share it with anyone, family, friends. They can't let anyone else see the game. Or they break the contract, and there can be some serious legal liability for that. But in addition to these people getting copies of the game, they also can get money, they can get swag, and they definitely can get a big boost in following. Because imagine if you have a game like any game, Hogwarts Legacy, that you have access to that only handfuls of other people do, and you can sit here and create content for it when no one else has even seen the game. Look at what kind of tremendous advantage you would have in that opportunity. So again, that's good for the game company, it's good for the influencer, and it's not inherently bad for the consumer. But when these game companies have these people under embargo and people are doing pre-orders on these games, how do we get to educate ourselves as a consumer when the game companies are telling us, oh yeah, the game was delayed before, but we're ready to go now? No one can contradict them, or the game has everything we promised you. No one can contradict them. And then all of a sudden, we've put the money in pre-order, or we're ready to buy it the day it releases. And if you don't race out to make sure that this embargo is lifted and that the game is what they said it is, then you just got hosed. And read those reviews, read those apology letters. The way I read it, at least one or two of them, they basically say, we knew the game wasn't going to be what we told the community. We released it anyway. One of them said that they didn't basically allow the consumer to make an educated, informed decision. And I'm paraphrasing that. Another one said, we delivered a game that didn't have the frames per second that we said. And I think I made the example, imagine if you had a 4-cylinder car, but it only worked with 3 cylinders. You know, that's what that is to me. You tell me you're going to have 60 frames per second, you're delivering 30, then you didn't put out a product that you said, especially when you know it's not going to deliver 60 frames per second. I can't imagine another product where this would be allowed. And this is just a small fraction of the problem that's out there right now, because I'm being very nuanced when I'm talking about how, there's these AAA titles that have been in development for a while and they're delayed and then they're released, and we find out through these pseudo apology letters that the companies did it even though they knew better, and they didn't tell us, and there were embargoes in place, and they took our money and they didn't discount the product that wasn't what was promised. They shipped something that they said was going to be more than it is. What about all the games that are just being dumped in the frickin' Xbox game store that are frickin' junk? And I'm talking broke. I'm not talking like fun or not fun. I'm talking functionally playable or just broke. Because every game that's released is going to have some sort of bug or glitch, or someone's going to experience something different in the gameplay. That's inevitable. It's been happening since I was a kid, gaming almost 5 decades ago. It's going to happen 50 years from now, long after I'm dead and gone. I mean, no one is so freaking deluded that they think there's ever going to be a game without some sort of technical issue. That's not what this is about. This is about responsibility between a business that's entered into a commercial transaction with the game consumer for a product that is not either one, working, or two, what was promised. I mean, how big would our list be if everyone started, first, if anyone watched this video, but second, if people started dropping comments about, oh yeah, this game fits that, and that's just Xbox. Imagine if we went through all platforms, all consoles. I mean, PC, our brains would probably explode if people started writing down all the games that hit the like a Steam store or something. But I'm just talking about Xbox. I mean, you see it all the time in the game reviews in the stores about how the game's so broken. And, you know, and I'm using terms that these game companies refuse to use. Like in their apologies, and I use that word very loosely, you know, they talk about, oh, we know that our game community is our core community, our game community is upset. No, the consumer is pissed off. They use these euphemisms that kind of dilute what's really going on here. And that's that these businesses aren't living up to their end of these transactions where they're taking our money and not allowing us the opportunity to be educated consumers, and they're misleading and misrepresenting us, as I can see, using non-legal definitions of those words. I'm just using those words as you'd find them in a dictionary. But that's how I see it, is they know what they're doing. There's no way they use things like that. You know, they wouldn't use terms and soften language like that in an embargo with the influencer. They're going to lock everything up tight. I mean, look at these freaking EULAs and all these other agreements and legalese that are in these video games that we get. Page after page after, you know, frickin' page. And it's all there. You know, every I is dotted, every T is crossed. Lawyers have looked it over, but then all of a sudden it's like, well, we want to talk to you like you're just gamers when they write these apology letters. Oh, we're so sorry you're disappointed. The gaming community's spoken. No, screw you. We're consumers. You're bending us over. I think one of the reasons I'm so angry is because I see a large part of the gaming community who not only tolerate this, they expect it. And that's the younger gamers. The ones who haven't been gaming for the last 30, 40, 50 years. The ones who started gaming and being consumers, game consumers in like the last 10 or 15 years. Because they seem to have this expectation and acceptance that, oh, the game just came out, give it a couple patches, it'll be fine. Well, if you would have been gaming as long as I have back in the 70s with Intellivisions and Magnavox Odysseys, and I guess I'm one of the, you know, old school PC gamers when I had my Texas Instruments, when everyone else had a Commodore 64 and an Atari. The game was the game. There was no internet. We didn't know we would have never thought of a patch or a frickin' bug fix or DLC. I mean, if you bought that product, that was your product for life as is. So now, I am thankful to be gaming in the 2020s at a time where there are bug fixes and patches, because I know there's always going to be bugs. And that's why when they release one, they have to release another one because there's more bugs introduced or different ones or something unforeseen happens. So yeah, I love the idea that we can have digital downloads and that we can have bug fixes and patches. And, this isn't even about a day one patch. I appreciate a day one patch. If I get a game on day one and something's screwed up and they can fix it, that's fantastic. But I sure as hell don't want one that's 100 gigabytes. But that's another story. We tolerate this. We accept this. Even in my age, I'm still accepting this sometimes. And that infuriates me when I start to think along those lines of, oh, well, it's buggy. I'll just wait for the patch. It's like, man, this thing wasn't buggy. It's freaking broke. It shouldn't have been released like this. It shouldn't have been sold. That's another one. When we released the game. No, when you sold the game. When you sold the product. This is not about releases. It's about commercial transactions between a company and the consumer. No more euphemisms. No more diluting the frickin' the terminology. They don't do this with anyone else. Why do they try to do this with us to make it look like we're less important and like we have no rights and they have no responsibility? And isn't that what it really comes down to? They don't take responsibility. If they took responsibility, they wouldn't have released the game. If they're going to apologize, freaking apologize. I'm sorry, we're sorry. Not this, well, we disappointed the game. Screw you, you disappointed the gaming community. No more euphemisms. Call it like it is. Say it like it is. Say it like you mean it. If you're going to release a game and it's not ready for the market, if it isn't what you promised, then either put in a game preview, say it's as frickin' is, and maybe you'll patch it. Make us frickin' beta testers who aren't paying for it. Or deliver what you frickin' promise. Or lift these embargoes and let these people forewarn the consumer that you guys aren't frickin' being honest with us. Fool me once, shame on me. How many times are these people going to fool us? Is it because it's a different company every time and it's like a round robin? They take their turns bending us over? Is this some sort of... No, I'm not even going to say what I was going to say. I just look into this character's eyes and the rage I have at this way, at the way that these companies are treating us is... I'm at a loss for words. I mean, is it really our only solution to say we're not gonna pre-order or we're not gonna buy day one? Is that all the power we have here? Because there's a whole nother market every day coming up behind us with younger gamers and new grandparents who are going to buy games for their grandkids and parents buying it for their kids who are going to be taken advantage of. Buyer beware? What responsibility do the companies have to stop doing this? That's why reading that Phil Spencer apology for Redfall frickin' triggered me. I mean, that thing was, looking back on it, man, I don't know how I didn't blow a frickin' blood vessel in my brain after reading that so many dozens of times before I frickin' did that video. It's like, and I didn't even put a fraction of my feelings into that thing or my actual, what I wanted to say. Kind of like I'm not now. We're just screwed. That's it, isn't it? We're just screwed. We're just going to continue to tolerate it. Some of us will avoid it because we won't buy things in advance, or we'll wait until a few patches. I mean, I can't tell you how long my game list is of games I've been watching for the last 6 months that came out that I wanted to pre-order, or I wanted to buy when they were released, or I've wanted to buy because they've been on sale that still haven't been patched, or, or were released broke and so buggy they're practically unplayable, and they still aren't fixed. So I guess that's it. I guess we have to wait because we can't trust any of these people anymore. And again, if Phil Spencer is going to do this, then why wouldn't every single other company? Because he's more worried about gamer scores and how easy it is to get achievements. Screw you, buddy. Just screw you. Your priorities are so freaking out of whack, it's not even funny. And I did another video about that, so let me bring that one up here too. For no one who's watching, because no one does. I don't care. That these jackasses keep telling us as Xbox gaming community that, they're going to restrict us because they have to protect the children. And then these son of a bitches pay $20 million to the United States FTC, Federal Trade Commission, because they're collecting data illegally and retaining it on children without their parents' authorization. Oh, Jesus Christ, your hypocrisy is frickin' palpable, buddy. Start with the man in the mirror. If you can get Microsoft and all your companies under your umbrella to stop this bad behavior and worse and other bad behavior, the other companies might fall in line. I'm done. End rant.